Okay, so number one, thank you so much for being here today. I know all of our minutes are valuable, and one of my goals for today is to share a little bit about my story and a little bit about a plan, a very simple plan, I think, that if you elect to commit to, or any kind of variation of this plan, then you can have some similar results. And the good news is you'll have at least one more person in your corner than I had to continue to push you and hold you accountable to however much you desire. Okay. So again, thank you for being here. So what I want to talk about today in general is the opportunity, and I want to kind of make sure everyone gets a chance to meet each other, and we can go in a lot of different directions. My ultimate goal, one of my chief goals for this year, is to treat my downline, so the people that I've been fortunate enough to bring to the company, and then those people who have also grown and attracted people to the company. That list right now for me is about 215 people. Much of that I'll throw out Priscilla at least she's in my upper right hand corner, has been a huge contributor to that. And I want to publicly thank you for all your hours and commitment and dedication. So thank you. So one of the things that I've been thinking about is, what if I treated that like it was a market center, a virtual market center, if you will. And as the leader of that market center, I provided assistance from a productivity coaching standpoint, right? I've worked as a productivity coach in the past, also been a team leader in the past, mega agent, et cetera. Pretty much gone to every single class KW offers and more. What if I could just share that value with the agents that are in my organization, if you will, and help them have better quality of lives, right? Whatever that means to them. So if it's more money, more time, more passive income, whatever it may be. And so one of the things that I'd like to, kind of state to you guys is, I am here to be a resource from a productivity standpoint, from a growth standpoint, and I want you to know you can call me for anything at any time. Okay. One of the things that I believe is, I've been at KW for a little over 11 years now. And one of the things that I believe is, or probably the most important and largest opportunity, is profit share. And so I want to also state that if you want to know more about profit share, if you got questions about profit share, if you want to come up with a strategic plan and have some accountability, I am committed to helping you with that. You just raise your hand and we'll get going. Okay. So that's kind of my initial kind of theory behind all of this. If I can help these agents sell more houses or attract others to Keller Williams, then it can be a win-win all around. How's that sound?
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Okay. Beautiful. So I've got a little bit of an outline that I want to kind of review with you guys today. And my intention is, I put out a pretty big goal for this group, or for me really. And what I said is, I'd like to have 20 agents that I have personally attracted to Keller Williams, who are committed to attracting 20 agents to Keller Williams. Right. And I'm not asking you to make that your plan. I just want you to know that that's kind of what I have in my mind. If you have a different plan, if you have a different vision, I'm here to listen and to give you some ideas and to share my experiences and try to get you there, try to help you get there. Okay. So do you guys just want to take a real quick moment to introduce yourself? And, because I said, I'm hopeful that this won't be the last time that you hang out with each other. Would that be helpful? You guys want to know who you're in the room with?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Dee, why don't you start?
Okay, I'm sorry I don't have my video on, but I'm here with the donkeys. They've had a fight, so I'm dressing wounds and watching donkeys. All right, so I joined Keller Williams 5 years ago. I reached a really high GCI in 2020, and because my systems weren't in place, I crashed and had a nice 2021 rest, just making payroll. But this year I'm back on target and crushing goals. Yeah, I'm crushing goals already. So I'm back. My level of energy is back and I have systems in place now. So it's hopefully that. And I look forward to building my profit share so I can feel like I can retire at some stage.
There you go. All right. So you're out of the Woodstock office. And
yes.
Are you currently serving on the ALC, or have you I know you've done it in the past, but are you currently serving?
Yeah, no, I'm not currently serving. I did it last year.
Cool.
Yeah. Back into business.
Back into business.
Yeah.
You had a hell of a January. I could tell everyone that, right?
And February.
And February.
And
Good
March.
All right, maybe you're going to teach next week.
So I think I missed your name. Dee, what's your last name?
Dee Matthewson, or just call me Irish Dee. That's what I'm known as now. I'm actually licensed as Irish Dee now.
Oh, that's awesome. I tell you, this is you guys got to remember that real estate is, 80% of newly licensed agents will not be in the business 2 years later.
Yeah.
Right. So we're gonna spend a little bit of time later talking about leads and who should be kind of in your kind of prospecting pool, if you will. With all due respect, your name came across the page just like everyone else's did, and I didn't know you were going to turn into easily a six-figure earner with a passion for profit share and a passion to be a leader in the office with the ALC and all these kind of things, right? So you never know who you're working with. It's almost like everyone's like a lottery ticket kind of. And some lottery tickets, you hit the lottery, and some lottery tickets don't do anything, right? So this is a long play. This is a long play. If you're looking for quick cash, you probably should go sell a home. But if you want to not sell homes for the rest of your life, I would encourage you to commit a little bit of time, just a little bit, to this type of structure. Okay. Thank you for sharing, Dee. Markia, why don't you tell us who you are?
Hello, my name is Markia Smith. Been with Keller Williams about a year and a half now.
Yep.
From being a dual agent to a full-time agent, January 28th with Bill's help. So looking forward to a good year of a full-time agent. Last year, being a dual agent, I did 9 deals. So my goal this year is to do 23. A little behind right now, but I plan on picking it up. But yeah.
Awesome. Priscilla.
Hey, I'm Priscilla Chukwueke. I joined Keller Williams in 2018, later part of 2018, maybe around May. April. I passed my exams in May, joined in April. I started doing recruiting for profit sharing in August of 2018, correct? Yeah, August of 2018. And I had a goal because it was a short-term plan, because I'm a dual career person. So I set my mind, like, I'm going to do this with all my heart. And, I went in full speed, full strength, and it materialized. So I'm at Keller Williams in Peachtree City. So 2 years, not doing a whole lot of sales that much, but it's intentional because of my job. I don't have that much time, but I'm helping people in my downline. I'm teaching them. I'm doing classes at my market center and stuff like that. So it's been good.
Yeah, Priscilla won. I guess it was that first year I had a little contest with my the agents that I had brought on. And I said, the person who recruits the most people between now and I think it was family reunion of 2019, maybe. I said, I'll buy your ticket to family reunion. And Priscilla was the winner for that. So we hung out in New Orleans for a little while, didn't we?
Yeah, and funny enough, that wasn't even that wasn't the focus for me, but I had my goal, you know. So you put it out there. I remember after the fact, I was asking, so what was it? How many people? What, you know?
It was like
But
over 50 people that you
exactly.
brought on in like 6 months. It was incredible. All right. Sarita, tell us who you are. Are you by okay,
Hey,
there you go.
hey, yep, I'm here. Hey, everybody. I'm currently driving right about now. How y'all doing? Hope everybody's
Great.
feeling good. Awesome. Well, I'm Sarita Ray. I'm turning my camera on real quick for you ladies. Hey, hey, everybody. But yes, my name is Sarita Reddy. I actually joined Keller Williams back in 2018. I didn't do that much when it came to my real estate license because I had to switch gears and moved to South Carolina, but now I'm back here in Georgia, and I'm excited about, you know, this profit sharing with Keller Williams, because I'm currently already in the business of network marketing. So when it came to the profit sharing and residual income, and hearing Bill talking about, you know, if you don't want to sell homes forever, where you can actually share, you know, get other realtors involved, I was like, okay, let's talk more about it. So I'm here and I'm ready, and it's a pleasure to be on the team with all of you. Have a good day.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so what I have in mind is I am I'm going to give you a peek behind my into my brain right now. I'm looking for my little packet, but ultimately, as I mentioned, I have a roster of about 215 people. You guys are included, of course, and I'm slowly working my way through that in an effort to really, ideally, get to know every single person in there. I want to know where you're at, where you want to be, and how I can help you get there. Whether it's a growth, whether it's productivity, etc. So for those that I haven't had that detailed conversation with, you're on the list. I'm going to get to you. And as I identify people who have a particular interest in profit share, I'm going to attempt to grow that WhatsApp group, as well as pour into you guys, most likely on a monthly basis with a call like this. I've also run a slightly different, I run a little group at the Roswell Market Center for about 2 or 3 months earlier last fall. And I have all those videos. So I believe I've got those in a playlist. I'm going to send that to or post that again on the chat. That those series of videos there's a little bit of everything in there. There's some live calls. There's some scripting and dialogue. We talk about what Keller Williams offers and how it's different from other firms. We talk about a lot of models, systems, basically everything. It's full of those conversation pieces. And I'll also have a number of scripts, which are really just a bunch of questions that you can be asking agents or prospective agents to see if they'd like to consider getting into real estate, or if they'd like to learn more about Keller Williams. So I'll give you kind of a very high level summary of some of those thoughts real fast. Is recruiting is not calling somebody and be like, you want to come to Keller Williams. Recruiting is asking questions, just like we ask our home buyers and our home sellers, asking questions so that our prospect or our listener can say, well, I never really thought about it that way. Or, wait, I'm not experiencing, my business doesn't feel like that. Or no one's ever asked me those questions. Like, I've literally had people break down in tears in meetings with them because their spouse hasn't even asked them questions that I'm asking them, right? Their mother hasn't even asked them questions that I'm asking them. And when they realize that their dilemma, whatever they're dealing with, it doesn't have to be that way. And in partnership with a different organization, or putting themselves in a group with high-minded, learning-based, model-driven type people, they can have a different level of success. So I want to I'll give you a great script that you can have kind of in your back pocket. Okay, Marquis, you've probably heard me say this 1,000 times, right? How's business? Right? How's business? Now, there's generally two answers that you're going to hear. Number one, they're going to start complaining almost immediately, 100% of the time. I've never met a perfectly happy realtor. Have y'all? Never met them. Not even D. If D is selling, if she's having a phenomenal first quarter, chances are she's feeling pressure and she's looking for leverage, right? There's only two problems a real estate agent has. You either don't have enough leads or you have too many leads. That's it. And I've found that somewhere in that $4 to $5 million volume is where that transition happens. Okay. So if you're talking to somebody that, let's say, every situation is different, but in summary, that's a good way to put it, right? So if you're talking to somebody that's a $5 million producer or more, and they don't have any help, that's what they want to talk about because they need it. D, you've experienced that, right? All right, we'll come back. The vast majority of the people that you'll be speaking with have the other problem, which is they may know how to sell homes, and if they don't have enough leads, then they probably also don't have a business plan. They don't have much accountability. They don't have a great structure around how to handle their time or their day. They don't know what winning looks like. Right? Everything is sporadic. Oftentimes they're not lead generating consistently. They're basically just in the lead receiving business, right? So if you ask an agent, how's business? They're going to tell you pretty quickly what their biggest pain point is. And then a great solution is to say, wow, sounds like we should meet, right? Or, hey, we've got a class coming up on listings that might give you some ideas, right? Or we got the certification thing for Homeward, and that sounds like it could help you solve one of your problems, right? Or, hey, we've got a class on scripts. Or, hey, you don't have a business plan. Would you like to meet with my team leader? They'll connect, you guys can get connected and the team leader will put together a plan for you immediately. Would that be helpful? Well, that's a silly question. Of course it'd be helpful. Great. You just booked an appointment. See what I'm saying? Okay. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to quickly go through this little outline, and I'll post the outline in the chat here shortly. But what I'd like to do, if you guys are open to this, is just share a little bit about what your goal is, and then I can help put together a little plan for you. So, and of course we can go, my thought is to go to about 11 o'clock today. If you guys also have some questions about profit share, we can answer those for the group too. So one of the things I'd like for you to be thinking about, of course, is what is your goal? Of course, that's what we start with, right? What's the goal? Do we want to talk about number of people that we want to bring to the organization? Do we want to talk about the number of dollars that we receive from passive income or profit share? So think about probably one of those two things, and then I'll help you make sure the math is accurate. Okay. Obviously, when we're talking about goals, the next thing we need to talk about is why is that important to you, or what is important to you about that, right? What's so special about passive income, right? What impact can that have on your family or your community when that goal is achieved, right? So let's say I have a goal to make $1,000 a month in passive income. Okay, great. So when $1,000 a month is coming in, what are you going to do with it? Right? Is that going to help you get out of debt? Is that going to help you buy a vacation rental? Is that going to help you, increase the quality of life for your family? Does that mean you get to go on a vacation or do something cool for your kids, your spouse? Like, what do we get when that money shows up? Because you're going to have to run through some people that don't call you back, that don't show up for appointments, right? They're just like in buyers and sellers, going to be some disappointments, right? However, if you talk to enough people, you're going to get disappointments and wins, right? You guys have all been on enough appointments in sales to understand how that works, right? And then the next thing is, what is your commitment, right? How much time are you willing to dedicate to this venture? And I'm going to walk through a scenario a little bit later where my plan calls for 1 hour of dedicated time per week. Is there anybody on this call that doesn't think they can handle 1 hour a week? I will take that as, yes, Bill. I have no problem handling 1 hour per week. Okay, beautiful. So let's talk for a second about where all these people are going to come from. Okay, so what we've just reviewed as we fill it out individually will be the economic model, right? I want this number of dollars, and therefore I need to set this number of appointments. The next question, of course, is where the lead's going to come from, right? When you know, I mean, let me back up for 1 second. You guys know that if you're operating your real estate business according to the model, you should be at about a 40% profit margin. 40%. The average restaurant operates at about between a 6 and an 8% profit margin. The average, like I know a guy who runs a big handyman company, they average 10%. 40% for a business for profit margin is pretty much unheard of. You guys understand that?
Yep.
And then you would say, well, gosh, it must cost a ton of money to get involved to be able to have an opportunity like that. No, not really. You could pretty much get involved for less than $1,000, right? Get some signs, a couple business cards, you take a class, you join the board, poof, you got yourself a real estate license. Make sense? Now, think about it the other way. What if you wanted to go open like a Subway franchise? Okay, first of all, it's going to cost a couple $100,000. Then you're going to have to deal with, leasing a space, hiring staff, buying all the product. Meanwhile, you're probably $500,000 in and you hadn't sold the first sandwich. Oh, and by the way, you just bought yourself a $65,000 a year job where you have no flexibility and you're making tuna fish sandwiches all day. Okay, so let that sink in. There's not a lot of opportunity. There's not a lot of business opportunities where the margins are as great as they are in real estate. So who's a contender to be a real estate agent? I don't know. I would probably say anybody that has a strong sense of work ethic, somebody who does the right thing, right? Who is thinks about things in terms of win-win, a person of integrity, and somebody who genuinely wants to help people. So you find those people behind the coffee shop counter. You find those people at the mall, in retail. You find those people in other sales businesses, right? You find those people, the talent pool for real estate agents right now has never been better, right? You got people that are kind of pushed to go back to work at a location, at an office structure, and they don't want to do that. The great resignation and all these kind of things. I mean, is it not true that people are looking for work flexibility right now? Right? They want flexibility with income. They want flexibility with their time. Is real estate not becoming more and more of a potential match for more and more leaders today? Am I crazy? Okay, so the time has never been better, right? We are also, Gary Keller said this a number of years ago, and he said it again recently. We're at about 180,000 agents, including worldwide people right now, KW worldwide. Okay, and he wants to double that in the next 5 years. Okay, so we're going to add another 180,000 people in the next 5 years. Great. Okay, over the course of the next 5 years, we're probably going to distribute over $1 billion in profit share. What do all 180 of those 1,000 people have in common? What do they all have to do before they technically join Keller Williams? It's not a trick question. They got to name a sponsor, right? All right. So in 5 years, you're going to have ask yourself a question. You're going to say, "Wow, I am so glad that I committed X number of hours per day or per week or per month or whatever to finding the future real estate leaders of our company." Or you're going to say, "Oh my gosh, I should have spent more time on that." I'm not saying the opportunity is going to be over, definitely not. But the question is how much of that 180,000 are you going to get, right? I heard a phrase. Read this exact quote to you. Hopefully, this will give you a little bit of inspiration. It might feel a little raw, but that's when it really works. Okay, I'm going to read this quote to you. It says, at some point in time, your children will find out, or your loved ones will find out. I'm going to come back to that question, D. Your children will find out that your company offered a willable opportunity to grow financial freedom and generational wealth. And you're going to be asked, hey, mom, dad, aunt, whatever, hey, how much time did you spend and how much energy did you invest in that? And my question to you is, are you going to be proud of your answer? Right. I'm just thinking about, I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. I'm thinking about them finding out that Keller Williams has profit share in a couple of years. And they're like, hey, did you do anything about that opportunity that was presented to you? And I'm going to be real proud of my answer. Make sense? All right, let me look at that question real fast. You have to be licensed to make calls to recruit. No. You could treat it like it's different than license law. For example, like when your ISA has to be licensed. The answer to that is no. However, it does introduce one more potential layer of that needs to be explained. What I mean by that is, like, for example, D, like when I called you 5 years ago or whatever, and let's say I was calling on behalf of someone else and I was the one that built the relationship or whatever, then you might have to say like, hey, I'm calling on behalf of so-and-so. So you have to be licensed to be named a sponsor, but you don't have to be licensed to make the call. So you just have to, if you like, let's say I was actually, I haven't actually officially done this, although I've tried a couple of times, is I volunteered, I found a recruiter, a young recruiter, and I said, I'll pay for you to get your real estate license and I'll pay your monthly fee. And all I want you to do is call the people on this list. Right. And so she was going to be named sponsor. I would be the beneficiary as well, as would she. And that would be her payment. Right. I wouldn't necessarily pay her, but I'd give her all the resources and I'd allow her to be in the system. Make sense? So D, for example, you said like your husband, my husband is so into profit share. Great. So here's a great solution. You go to real estate, have your husband go to real estate school. It's free, right? He can knock it out in a couple of weeks. Then he can be in the system. Yes, he can be in the profit sharing system. Obviously, he would name you as a sponsor. And then he could be the one to generate the calls and to, meet people and build that database and all of that. And then when, let's say, Joe gets sponsored by your husband, then when Joe has a transaction at his local Keller Williams office, your husband would receive a portion of the profit and you would receive a portion of the profit. So it's essentially what they call stacking.
That makes sense.
Right. But like in the long run, it's probably better off. I think it definitely in the case you just described for him to be in the tree.
Okay.
If you had like an ISA or something from the Philippines or like something like that, they're not able to be in the tree. So they would just maybe set appointments for you. Hey, Bill's offering 30-minute, complimentary business reviews. He's got an opening at 11 o'clock or 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock tomorrow. What makes the most sense? Right. And then they're not like really selling anything about Keller Williams. So there's not any kind of confusion on what their role is. They're just booking the appointments. And then I help out, once the appointment's happening, I'm explaining how everything works. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about, once we know kind of what the success metric is, which is what the economic model reveals, then we should go and think about the lead generation model. The lead generation model let's think through this together, right? Who are our prospects? Our prospects are really any human being that is interested in getting serious about building a business and is attracted to a business with a 40% profit margin. By the way, when you're a solo agent, it's more like 80%. Make sense? So K-score. Does everyone know what K-score is? K-score is Keller Williams School of Real Estate. That is free, right? You say, hey, you're sharp. Wow. Let's say somebody's trying to sell you an outfit or something at the store. Wow, you're doing a really good job. I'm impressed with your sales. Have you ever thought about getting into real estate? Yeah, I gotta tell you, like 90% of the world has thought about getting into real estate, and everyone loves being complimented, right? You
Oh
know,
my
like
God. Bill, yeah, the cable people that cost you going into Sam's Club and Costco and all that. Go to them. They are the
that.
easiest ones. That.
Yeah, you know who was a cable guy before they became the #1 real estate agent in all of Keller Williams?
Uh-huh.
Ben Kinney.
Ah, see, yeah, and they come to you.
That's
They
right.
come,
That's right. And let me tell you something. They aren't making a couple hundred grand a year. They're definitely not. Right. So all you got to do is create curiosity. Hey, you ever thought about getting into real estate? Right. Interestingly enough, my office is sponsoring real estate school for those that are interested. Can I get you some additional information? I mean, who's going to say no to that? Right. So I assume that I know Sarita and Markia, you're good because you're in Roswell. I know that. I'd have to double check with Woodstock. I'm pretty D and I are supposed to talk. The other D, your team leader and I are friendly, and I'm pretty sure you guys have it too. But everyone should have access to it. Keller Williams School of Real Estate. Go talk to your agent services person. They're probably the one that is organizing or kind of keeping track of everything. And let's say I say, hey, Raven is the name of our agent services. So I say, hey, Raven, I got my friend, Stacy. She wants to join. She wants to get involved in the free real estate school. So she sends Stacy all the links and had all the instructions. Poof, there she is in real estate school. Next thing you know, she's passing her test. Next thing you know, we're inviting her into the office and say, hey, so you're here because of Bill, right? Boom. And the team leader and the assistant team leader are trained for that exact purpose. Did you want to add something, Markia?
Yeah, I've sent out 8 so far.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, and people have actually like signed up for it and things. Even my fiance, he signed up for it. So
There you go. There you go.
it's nice.
I haven't looked into how all this works, but I might go get a real estate license in like Florida or North Carolina or something like that. Who knows, right? Okay. So Keller Williams School of Real Estate. Okay. So Keller Williams has like 6 or 7 different like little graphics or whatever. You could do Facebook ads. You can post the information on your social sites or whatever, right? You can just have conversations. I mean, what is it, like 80-something% of people are not happy at their work? Why do you think that is? Because somebody else is making the decisions. That's why, right? They lack control. Real estate, you got all the control in real estate, right? You can work whenever the hell you want.
no, that's a
Sometimes
lie.
that's
we
good
can
and
set
sometimes
goals here.
That's a lie. We're always working. Don't you say you can work whenever you want, because we're always working.
let me tell you something, D. You don't have to take all those clients. You've earned them all, but you could go pass all those deals off if you wanted to, do something else each day.
No, I want my money because I got all the clients I've worked.
Okay, so you're making that choice. You're making that choice.
Yes. But
Okay.
we're all, don't be telling
So
me.
what the bottom line is, you have taken control.
Yes.
Some people are going to take control and focus, and this kind of changes as life goes on, right? You focus a little bit more on time, then you focus a little bit more on money, then you focus a little bit more on time, then you focus a little bit more on money, right? Those are really the only 2 things we got, right? So a real estate agent's got 1 of 2 problems: no leads, or not enough leads, or too many leads. And another great question to ask a realtor is, most realtors struggle with 1 of 2 things, if not both. One is time and the other is money. Which one is it for you? Right? They always could improve how they manage their time, and they always, or generally always, wouldn't mind a little bit extra cash. Make sense? Okay, let's talk about where some other leads might come from. By the way, that's a numbers game. Markia is going to invite 8 people. Maybe 5 of them will register. Maybe 3 of them will finish, and maybe 2 of them will pass, and maybe 1 of them will name her. Like, it's a numbers game, right? It's a numbers game. But the way that you increase your likelihood of those things happening is follow-up. And you guys have been trained on follow-up from KW. And if you need some pointers on that, or systems or tracking tools or any of that kind of thing, I'm happy to give you anything I've developed over time. Okay. Another really good resource is class invites. Okay. I am in the very early stages of creating what is essentially a training headquarters Google Cal. And I could send you a link where it would automatically feed to your Google Cal. And it includes like the SES, the Southern Educational Services classes. It includes things like career visioning and big classes at our office that people can participate, in person or virtually. Like next Wednesday, there's a class that we have for free, taught by Cynthia McKinley, how to deal with annoying people. She's an NLP like DISC expert, right? That's a free class, right? Via Zoom. So somebody, says, oh my gosh, these people are driving me crazy. They can't make a decision, blah, 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 blah. Hey, there's as a matter of fact, we got a class next week on that. It's totally complimentary. Would you be open to, joining me? Would you like to be my guest? Right. So remember, Keller Williams is very much an experiential company. Okay. As we all know, we are not the cheapest company in town. We're definitely not the most expensive, but we're not the cheapest either. Right. So why would somebody go and buy, a BMW when they could probably get to the same place with a Honda or something even less expensive than a Honda? Right. Sarita, that outfit that you're wearing in your picture, that's definitely not from Target, right?
Nope, not from Target.
Exactly. But you could have bought an outfit that looked kind of like that from Target, right?
You sure could have.
So why
find
didn't
the
you do
same
that?
print.
So why didn't you do that?
Quality.
There you go. Okay.
Hey.
So but we have to experience that a lot of times. Because if you put like Keller Williams on a spreadsheet and you put it against virtual properties or something, you might think virtual property is a better place to be just because of the money. So if you don't experience what we get and you don't have a way of sharing your story, which we're going to get into in a second, then it may be confusing for the listener and they may not see it clearly. So the faster you can get them to experience what it's like to have a business consultation or a chat with your team leader or come into the market center or come on Zoom and watch a class that they're not used to hearing, is going to benefit everyone involved. Okay. So I would be collecting as many office calendars as I possibly could, because there is no one that does education better than us, in my opinion. Okay. For example, another thing, like all of our market centers have productivity coaching. I can't imagine a productivity coaching or coach not being willing to allow a guest to come on and get a cool, morning lesson or group coaching call or something like that, right? Okay, another one, co-op transactions, right? That's kind of like the go-to, right? Oh, well, I'll just say this one thing when I have a co-op deal. Well, what I'm finding is more and more of the co-ops are already Keller Williams. So if you fish out of a pool with, let's say you do 20 deals a year and 10 of them are with Keller Williams, then so you telling me you're only going to flirt with 10 possible people all year long? That's not enough. Let's push it. Let's see, how can we get more people in the funnel, if you will, right? So co-op transactions. The one that I've kind of gravitated to in the last 2 or 3 years is essentially cold calling producers. Right, we have Broker Metrics. Broker Metrics, by the way, for those that don't know, is a piece of software. I can print out all the lists you want and send them to you. But it's basically, you can call. It shows you all the brokerages that are part of Georgia MLS and FMLS, and it has the agent rosters for each of those brokerages, and it has all their statistics. So I can look and see how many deals Priscilla did, and whether they were buyer side or seller side, and what the addresses were and when they closed and all that kind of thing. Okay. And then I can target, let's say Bold. Okay, this is a great example. Bold is coming to Roswell. It's also coming to Stockbridge, and it's coming to a bunch of other offices, I'm sure, at the end of the month. Okay. So I'm actually reaching out to some higher level producers and inviting them to Bold, because most offices, I don't want to put my hand in the OP's pocket of Peachtree City or Woodstock, But I know for a fact, I've gotten permission from Roswell. If you're an R2, which is essentially a capper, we'll send you to Bold for free. Okay. So you're friendly with another capper at another company, right? And you say, hey, we got Bold coming up. Would you like to join me the first day? And they're going to sit in that room and be, wow, most likely, right? And then the team leader is going to get involved and say, hey, we'd like to sponsor you. We'd like to take care of the cost for this. Would you like to join? I mean, who's going to say no to that, right? And then you're the one that set it all up. So you're in the driver's seat for sponsorship. Okay. So cold calling producers and inviting them to a variety of things, right? I did a lot of that at the end of the year and the end of the previous year when people are behind in their goals, right? Oh, my goal is to sell 24 homes. How many of you sold? 7. Okay. What happened? Right? What action steps has your broker been, suggesting to you to get back on track? Well, I hadn't talked to my broker in 4 months. Well, you haven't talked to your broker in 4 months? Huh? Does your broker know your goal is 24 and you're at 7? No. How do you feel about that? Oh, wow. I don't have that experience. Sounds like we should meet. By the way, that's one of my favorite scripts of all time. Ah, wonderful. Sounds like we should meet. Oh my gosh, horrible. Sounds like we should meet. Make sense? I'm hoping the rest of you are smirking like Marquia is, right? Where's another place? Where's another place to find people? Networking events, right? I mean, do you know how long I've been working on Kelly Lucinda from 210 Warranty? Oh my gosh, probably close to 10 years. Kelly, when are you going to start selling houses? Do you know how long I've been working on her? These are some, Kelly is like the number 2 warranty salesperson in the entire country, right? There's some wildly successful salespeople and vendors and professionals that would absolutely annihilate this business. Your termite representatives, your insurance agents, your warranty people, home inspectors, maybe, right? I mean, our checks are bigger than all those people. We got the biggest checks in the whole town. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's all about money, but man, it ain't that hard to make 100 grand, is it? Okay. Let's start with a couple of other ideas. Number one is you need an agent database. Okay, if you're going to court buyers and sellers, where do you put them? You put them in the database, right? So if you're going to court real estate agents, you need a database. So my recommendation is use whatever CRM you're using and tag them accordingly, right? Tag them agent or tag them recruit or whatever it is. So you can identify and send specific messages just to that group when and if you have a desire to, right? I've got a database, a few hundred agents, way more than that actually. And I can send a little, the little video that our office just sent out about Bold. Hey, we got this awesome class coming. Let me know. We've got some sponsorship opportunities. Let me know if you have any interest. And I send it to 400 people and 15 of them say, hey, I'm interested. Wow, I might just have made a ton of money. You guys see what I'm saying? So build the database. The next thing is, as I always taught in productivity coaching, is build the pipeline. What I mean by the pipeline is the most motivated of the database. From a real estate sales perspective, I would say your pipeline should consist of the people who are prepared to transact real estate in the next 12 months. They have a stated goal to do so. And you've been led to believe that you're their agent, or at the very least, you would have the opportunity to interview for that role. So you keep a database of the hottest prospects, and then you keep a database of all the prospects, and then you identify the hottest prospects so you can check in with them a little bit more often. Okay. Okay, let's shift gears for a second. Here's how you're going to build some confidence. Okay, you're going to learn how Keller Williams is unique. You're going to learn the history of Keller Williams, the Agent Leadership Council, the profit share story, when Remax came to Austin. You're going to know things like what happened in Des Moines, Iowa 7 or 8 years ago, right? In that story. You're going to know about Keller Williams Cares, right? You're going to know that last summer, or 2 summers ago, I guess, the IALC, the International ALC, voted unanimously. It's the first time they've ever done anything unanimously in the history of the company, almost 40 years, right? They voted unanimously to add equity to the Y4C2Ts, right? You're paying attention to what we're doing on a international level, right? We're in 54 regions. They just announced Ghana 2 days ago, right? You're paying attention to what KW is doing at large, and you are working to build your story. Okay, so I'll give a real brief example of that. Marquia was at a previous firm doing a couple deals here and there. I'm not saying anything wrong with her firm, but I think it's appropriate to say when you came to Keller Williams, you started operating a bit differently, right? Started thinking differently, your time was managed differently, and therefore you had different results. So you come up with a way to share that story, and that's where the power is, right? D, you've got a similar story. Priscilla, you got a similar story. Sarita, we're working on building your story, right? So it's a matter of creating or kind of creating is probably the right word, your story, right? I came from Metro Brokers. I was at Metro Brokers for 5.5 years. I became one of their top agents. I was kind of the darling of the relocation network. It's getting a bunch of referrals from them. I was making 6 figures when the market sucked. This is 15 years ago. And I got exposed to Keller Williams, and I said, I'm going to learn how to fish rather than being sold the fish. And the leader there said, all your leads come from us. What are you going to do? I said, I don't know, but I can't stay here any longer. I'll figure it out. And I went and figured it out through the help of my mentors and leaders and coaching and, all the curriculums and, a lot of hard work, right? So I can share my story. I know what I had access to there, and I know what I have access to here. Make sense? And of course, the question is just like anything, is how are you going to hold yourself accountable, right? Normal people cannot have abnormal results. If you want results that you're not used to having, you're going to have to do things you're not used to doing. And it's up to you to determine how big of a part this is going to be in your world. For the last 7 or 8 years, I probably have a slightly unhealthy obsession with it. Okay. I was waking up in the middle of the night trying to figure out how to bring people to Keller Williams. I was abnormal for sure. Okay. Way abnormal. People thought I was a nut. Okay. I basically stopped selling homes. I had my buyer's agent essentially running everything. And I spent all day recruiting for 2.5 years, probably. Right.
Can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
I'm glad you're abnormal, because if you weren't abnormal, you wouldn't have brought me to Keller Williams. So thank you. And I wouldn't be in the position I'm in with the donkeys right now, which
Thank
is not
you.
good this morning, but it's usually a good. Yes. Yeah, so
well,
I'm
I
very
appreciate
thankful
you
that
saying
you made
that.
that call. Yeah, very, very thankful you made the call. Thank you.
And that is what it's all about right there, right there. It's knowing that there's a very, very small portion of your story that I was able to be a part of, right? And the coolest part about it is I have a vested interest in your success, right? Whether you bring somebody on, whether you sell another home, whether you grow your team, whatever it is, there's a little piece of the pie for me, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. And as a result, I want to pour into you so you can have all that you want, right? And I think it's provided me with a lot of opportunity, right? I've taught at other market centers. I was offered an investment opportunity in Israel, which I took, right? It was kind of put me in line to be the team leader, and then that put me in line to be the productivity coach. So like, there's a lot of different things that have come to me because I had an unusual level of commitment, right? Let me give you just a real, a very quick performa, and then I'll open the floor to some questions if you want. So my thought is, and all these numbers are vague, but my thought is if you commit 1 hour a week to this, you should be able to set 2 appointments per week. So 2 appointments each hour. Okay. That will result on average in 1 appointment being held per week. The team leader kind of ratio that they like to see is for every 4 appointments held, there's 1 agent that joins. Many team leaders are much better than that, by the way. Okay, so if you set 2 a week, 1 will be held, 4 of those therefore will be held a month, and 1 of them will name you as a sponsor. And we can talk about, how to try to, because if you're not calling brand new agents, when you're calling brand new agents or people in real estate school, you'd say, hey, do you have a relationship with anyone at Keller Williams? Do you have a family member or something like that with anyone at Keller Williams? And they're like, oh, no. And then the door is wide open. Or they say, yeah, my sister works at Keller Williams. Say, great, you should go talk to your sister about the company. Have a wonderful day, right? So we do the right thing. We're not like, oh, well, I want to be your sponsor, right? Just get off the phone. Okay, so if you're calling strangers and we can come up with a question like, hey, have you ever spoken with anyone about Keller Williams before? Oh, yeah, I have 4 friends at the Woodstock office. Oh, great. Okay, well, let them know that this class is coming. I'll be there. Hope to see you. Have a great day, right? Because there's not an opportunity there for you. I'm not saying be rude about it. It's just there's nothing there for you. You may as well move on, right? So by the time you get into that conversation, you've already established whether there is somebody that should potentially be named or that they would name ahead of you. Okay. So with that said, the average capper, and these are probably a bit conservative numbers, the average capper will pay their direct sponsor about $2,000 per year. They won't pay the direct sponsor. The direct sponsor will earn roughly $2,000 a year from their direct recruit. Okay. The average agent, I would say, is $1,000 a year because not all the agents are cappers, of course. Okay. So if you bring 12 people, 1 a month to the company, and then they start getting into production, that should average you around $12,000 a year in profit share. Okay. Now, I'll tell you my story real fast, which is this past year, 2021, I earned just over $60,000 in profit share. Okay. Now, the average financial advisor would tell you somewhere between 3 and 4% is your like retirement number. So, for example, if let's use 3%. So, if you want an income of $30,000 per year in passive income, you need $1 million in that investment. So when I think it was Fidelity used to have that commercial where the person's running around town and they have a number over their head. The idea there is once I have this amount of money at 3%, 3 to 4%, that will spit off the amount of money I need for my lifestyle. And as soon as I have that number, I don't need any active income anymore. Follow? Okay, so if I'm age 60, that's the equivalent of having $2 million in the bank. Now, it's actually even cooler because I had to pay taxes on that and I had to save it. So I think the average person, let's say, let's start with taxes. So in order for me to have 2 in the bank, I needed 4 to earn to pay half that away in taxes so that 2's still sitting there, right? But I didn't save it all. I only saved probably 10%. So we're talking about, I know this is not perfect math, but what if you made $40 million, saved 10%, that's 4, paid taxes on it, that's 2, and then it spit off 60 grand. Like you're not going to save your way to wealth, guys. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes a lot of sense.
Right. Yeah, you're gonna have to have passive income in some way if you want it. Like I actually remember very specifically, this is when I knew that this was a problem. is I actually asked a woman one time, she was describing her business, said, "What's your exit plan?" And she said, "I'm probably going to die selling real estate. I'll probably die showing a house." I said, is that your goal? Would you like to consider an alternative? Right? It's like, wow, this person is just seemingly content with the fact that she's going to be working forever, right? The last time that you have a listing and you pull that sign out of the ground, that's it. The only way you're going to see any money from it is if you sell the business, right? Or you've seventh leveled it, basically, where you own it and you're not actively working, right? Or unless you've used your income to make investments that are going to spit out passive income, or something like profit share, where you don't even have to make the investment of money. You can make the investment of time. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. We got a couple minutes left if you guys want. As I said, hopefully this is the first of many of these type meetings. I just wanted to kind of lay the groundwork for what I had in mind. Are there any questions about profit share? Any misconceptions I can, clarify? You guys, is this something that you want to learn more about? What would be the next most important thing that I could do to help you?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Maybe I missed it. But when it comes to profit sharing, can we, if we reach out to other agents that's in different states, is that possible too?
Yes, great
Maybe
question.
I missed that.
We didn't discuss that today, so you didn't miss anything. Great question.
Okay.
So in the United States and in Canada, we work off of a profit sharing model. Okay, so any office, there's about 815 or so offices in the Keller Williams network. If a recruit joins any of those offices, they will be asked the question, who was the person most influential in their choice to join the company? And at that point, they can name anyone that they want, right? So let's say you have a friend that works for Century 21 in Phoenix, right? And you ask her, "Hey, how's business?" What do you think she's going to say? Can't get enough business. Okay, that sounds like the first option. I don't have enough leads. Okay, great. Tell me, what are you doing to find leads now? Well, I'm kind of just sitting around. Wow. Well, can I get you in touch with our local Keller Williams office out there? We've got like probably 2 to 3 events on the calendar every single day that can help you, have a better mindset about, lead generation or whatever. Can I make that happen? Can I make an introduction for you? That's probably more than their broker's ever done for them, right? So that person in Phoenix comes in and says, "Hey, I want to join." Our job is to make sure they understand what profit share is briefly. So when they're asked that question, it's clear, right? So the short answer to that question is yes. Internationally, they will also ask that question, who was the person most influential? However, it's not a profit sharing system internationally. It is what is essentially a revenue sharing system internationally. Internationally, they have a 10% franchise fee, essentially, that does not cap internationally. And 5% of that money, or half of that money, goes to the regional ownership. 3% of that money goes to Keller Williams International as a franchise fee, and the other 2% is distributed through growth share. So it's above the line internationally, meaning it's revenue share, and it's below the line domestically in the United States and Canada in the form of profit share. So yes, if you know people that do real estate or could do real estate across the world, yes, you can introduce them to the company and be rewarded financially for doing so.
Okay, awesome. Because yes, I do. I know plenty of people that's in different countries. I didn't know if Keller Williams was in like countries like Serbia. I know individuals in Serbia, Czechoslovakia, Africa, the UK. I know and Canada. But you said Canada's with the US, right?
Well, it's not considered an international region or a worldwide region. If you go to KW Worldwide, kwworldwide.com. They have basically like a global map, and they highlight the regions that are currently in place, and they have contact information for the appropriate person. And if it's a region that currently does not have a KW office, you could potentially even reach out to international and see if you can, introduce, let's say somebody who owns some brokerages in fill in the blank country that there's not a KW in. You could potentially get them connected with the appropriate people, and they could learn more about what that opportunity would look like.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Right now we are in 54, it's either 54 or 55 regions, right? Albania, Argentina, Aruba, Bermuda, Belize, Belgium, Cambodia, Chile, Colombia, Cyprus, Costa Rica, Czech Republic, France, Dubai, Dominican Republic, Honduras, Greece, Indonesia. I mean, they're everywhere. Israel, Ireland, Italy, Luxembourg, Japan, Jamaica, Malaysia, Mexico, Monaco. We have a few agents at our office that have actually taught. Like, we have one agent that taught at KW in France, wrote off her whole travel trip. Right. We have another agent that taught in Greece and in Italy. They just taught like a 36 touch class or whatever. I forget exactly what it was. Sarah Sloan was one of them. You guys in Roswell know who she is. One of our top agents. Susan Corley taught in was it Italy? I think like a year or two ago, wrote off her whole trip. Right. So there's some really cool opportunities. As I mentioned, I'm involved in KW Israel, Nicaragua, Mongolia, Morocco. They've got their website's really cool. Any other questions?
So when you teach at those international places, do they invite you and pay for your trip, or how does that work?
I would suspect that you'd have to be a pretty powerful reputation for them to pay for your trip. The people that I was just referring to paid for their own trips. It was basically a vacation, and then they popped into the Keller Williams office. They said something like, they called the Keller Williams office. Hey, I'm Bill Linkwald. I have a passion for profit share. Can I teach a profit share class? I'm going to happen to be in your area, in end of April or whatever. Would you be interested in that? I mean, I don't think they got paid or anything, but they essentially wrote off their entire trip because it was considered business, right?
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
They got paid then.
What's that?
I said they got paid then, indirectly.
Yeah, 30% or 40% of the cost of the trip, right?
So, but my next question is, what is Keller Williams doing about the attrition rate? So I know now you have like 200 and something, right? But it wasn't at the beginning of last year, for example. I'm sure it must have been higher than that, because as people leave my tree, they also live in yours. Do you does Keller Williams, their research department, have a number of about how high or how low the percentage of the attrition in the company? Because you have 50 people in 1 year, and then before the next year finishes, 15 of them have left. That's high.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what Keller Williams statistic is, but what we generally see from a real estate industry perspective, it's about 30% a year. About 30% a year. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Right. But that is significantly higher. I don't have this statistic, I will admit. I would virtually guarantee the rates at Keller Williams are better than elsewhere, right? Because we're a training company, technology, culture, these kind of things. So it's better than elsewhere. Keller Williams is known, I don't know if I want to say known, but we tend to give more people more chances, if that makes sense, right? So like we have brands in our area that probably wouldn't even take a new agent, right? They don't have new agent training. It's not part of their model, right? And they're free to operate on whatever business model they want. We're willing to take new agents because we believe that people follow systems and models that can have outstanding success. You know, the most I ever had on my first level was about 125. And right now I have a little over 80, right? So I've lost a bunch of people too. But if you think about it, 85% of the newly licensed realtors will not be in the business 2 years later. My stats are much better than that, right? So what is Keller Williams directly doing? I mean, that's the talk in leadership is, you know, how do we get more people involved in the technology? How do we get more people involved in financial opportunities? How do we get more people to trainings and bold and productivity coaching? And how do we become a little bit more, you know, maybe selective at who we let in the door, right? I mean, if you let somebody in the door that I'm towing the line here, but like if you let somebody in the door that doesn't have money for board dues, like it's a slippery slope immediately, right? Or if they're, you know, have, you know, they're dual career or something like that, they have no money, they have no will, right? So I think ultimately our job when we connect a prospect to a person in leadership, we are in some ways putting our name attached to it, right? So let's just say, for example, D was the team leader, and I'm going to go and try to find opportunities for D's Market Center. And I keep sending a bunch of poor candidates to D. She's not going to want to meet with my candidates because I'm wasting her time.
Right.
Right. And so it's up to us sometimes to identify the desire level or the talent level or the hustle level of the people that we're in contact with so that we can, you know, have reputations for connecting them with great people. Right. A good question that sometimes this is what Mo used to ask when she was recruiting. She would say, so since your last formal education, what is it that you have accomplished that you're most proud of? I once, the answer I got to that one time was, I one time became the assistant to the person that did worked at a hair salon. It's like, okay, this is not a person of incredible talent, right? I also once had somebody ask me what the monthly fee was, and when I told them, their next question was, what is the late fee if you're late for the monthly fee? And I said, I don't even really know. I have to figure that out. Turns out we didn't have a late fee, but that was a pretty good sign that that's probably going to be a struggle from day one, right? So just like we are pre-qualifying our buyers and our sellers, we ought to in some ways pre-qualify our prospects because it is our reputation on the line when we make that introduction, right? And we obviously want to be super careful with, you know, all the things, right? You know, protected classes and these kind of things. But if somebody is telling you that they are not a person of integrity and have virtually no desire to go find people to help, it's probably not a great match, right? Generally, people are going to start talking about one of two paths. They're either going to want to talk about growth and opportunity and leadership and business and these kind of concepts, or all their questions are around money. And if all their questions are around money, you got to try to figure out, why is this person so concerned about the money, right? And if they're concerned about the money, they'll go to the office. It's $80 instead of $85. And believe me, if they find one for $79, they're out the door. Right? So what I'd like to do By the way, Adrian just popped on. Adrian is, you better watch out for her. She is
She's a rock star.
she's real good. She's real good. If we ever do another contest, Priscilla, you better watch out. So Adrian's in the Chicago area, and she has been fantastic. So I've got a number of systems. I think I've told each of you individually. The PSI list has been like a devil to me over the last couple of months. I'm still trying to get the data from them. But for many years, we were calling the people in the state of Georgia and the state of Illinois who passed their real estate test every week or every day, really. I have an assistant that will be able to help with some of the back office of your efforts if you're interested. I am fully committed to helping you in this journey. So all of you guys are in the WhatsApp channel or WhatsApp chat. As I mentioned, my intention is to continue to grow that and continue to have conversations like this. And I will make sure that kind of two big pieces of resources. One is some scripts, some like a combination of some scripts and some objection handlers and that stuff that I can share with you guys so you can begin to familiarize yourself with some of those conversations and some of those questions, as well as a YouTube playlist of a bunch of videos that are related to profit share, everything from live calls to why different brokerages are different to objection handling and these kind of things. Remember that I'll end with this idea. You guys have heard me say this before, but I'll try to make it. I'll try to be. Yeah, it's not thick enough. Adrian, is there anything you want to share while I'm drawing this beautiful picture that you're about to see? We've recorded this, by the way, so everyone can go back and watch, okay? You guys recognize this? What's that? That's how every Keller Williams class starts, basically, right? Okay, guys, remember what's on each of the sides, right? Leads, listings, leverage, or listings, leverage, right? So if you know somebody, I know there's exceptions to this, but in large part, if you know what somebody's income is, I can tell you what their problem is or what their biggest problem is. Okay. If the person is less than $2 million in sales volume, they have a lead issue. That's all that needs to be discussed. If they had more leads, they'd sell more houses. The reason why they don't have more volume is because they lack leads. And 100% of the time you spend with them should be on how to bring more opportunities for business into their world. Okay. Once you get over here, I'd say this is about $2 million to $5 million in volume. Okay. If somebody's between $2 and $5 million in volume, okay, then here's what I would assume about them. Number one is they know how to sell homes, right? They most likely know how to go on buyer presentations, listing presentations. They understand how to use the basic technology. They understand the contracts. They know how to sell homes. They have helped more families than what fell into their lap at the very beginning when they told the world they were an agent. The problem is they haven't hit this. They're still making, or they're still selling less than $5 million worth of homes. And personally, I found that once I got to around 4 million, maybe even a little less than 4 million, and this is because the prices were half of what they are now when I was selling, I felt the stress of too much, right? The reason why too many opportunities, going back and forth everywhere, missing dinners, no vacations, working weekends, up till midnight, falling asleep at my desk, all that stuff, right? The reason was because I was working with too many buyers. So if you're between 2 and 5 million, your biggest problem is listing. Quite frankly, you ain't got enough sellers. You're working with too many buyers and your systems are probably weak. Okay. So if we can teach you how to go get more sellers and leverage some of your showings or the assistant work, then you will have enough time to go find a talented person to come work for you. Right. And that's when you get over this hump of the talent or the growth. Right. If you're $5 million or more in sales and you don't have an assistant, there's only one thing you want to talk to me about. And that's who can help me with all this stuff that I'm trying to deal with right now. Right? Can anyone do some paperwork for me? Can anyone drop off this sign? Can anyone do this, amendment or make this flyer or whatever? Did we not write the book on how to grow? Do we not have proprietary technology and software for Keller personality assessments and career visioning and, the interview packet and how to bring the right person into the organization and put them in the right place and hold them accountable and train them and motivate them and inspire them? Did we not write the book on that? So when you find out how somebody's business is going, you know exactly what they need to hear. By the way, this is I don't have enough leads. This is I have too many leads. Y'all follow? It all fits together. Does that make sense? Have you guys ever thought about it that way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those are the scripts, if you will, right? You're not going to be able to talk, just like you can't talk a buyer into buying a home they don't want to buy. I can't talk an agent into joining KW if they don't understand why it would help them, right? And therefore, we need to find out what hurts, right? When you go to the doctor says, "Hey, why are you here? What hurts?" "Oh, my shoulder hurts." Okay, well then they're not going to give you medicine for your foot. They're going to help your shoulder. Does that make sense?
Not necessarily.
What's that?
Not necessarily. Your shoulder might be because of something on your neck.
Yeah, I invited the doctor on the call today. All right, was this helpful, guys? Everyone still with me?
Yep.
Very helpful.
Everyone feel newly inspired?
I am very inspired. In fact, I'm going to get loads of people to do real estate school. I didn't know it was free.
Yep. Well, go get your husband in there first so he can be named the sponsor and you guys can each get a slice.
Oh, you believe me, Bill. He's going to be calling.
Yeah,
He's
there you
going
go.
to be calling.
Beautiful, beautiful. Listen, guys, as I said at the very beginning, I am incredibly grateful that you guys have chosen to partner with Keller Williams. I'm incredibly grateful that you have helped a lot of families buy and sell in the last few years, and that your family has been impacted by this organization. And I'm just so glad to have gotten a chance to be a part of that. And in return, I'm committed to helping you. So anytime you have a question about the sales business, hiring somebody, dealing with a contract thing, or helping with profit share, wealth building, whatever it is, I want you to know I'm completely available. You guys are my and you are absolutely in my inner circle, right? And my hope is that you will continue to help those that you have the honor of bringing on and help each other. So stay tuned. I'm going to continue to add some people to the group. I'll throw out a date probably in the next week or so for another session just like this. And I'll make sure that some of the resources that I mentioned earlier are dropped in the chat. Okay. Cool.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for participating, guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you later.
Thanks, Bill.
Bye-bye. You're welcome.